Welcome to the Film Florida podcast. My name is John Lux, and I'm the Executive Director of Film Florida. Today, our guest is Bob Caniglia. Bob is the Director of Sales Operations North America at Blackmagic Design. Thanks for joining us on the podcast today, Bob.
Thanks for having me.
So before we talk about Blackmagic Design specifically, tell us a little bit about you and how you got to your current role.
Sure. So 9 years ago, Blackmagic bought DaVinci, and I was working for DaVinci at the time. And as I like to say, I was the youngest guy in sales at DaVinci and became the oldest guy at Blackmagic overnight.
So I'm guessing most people listening to the podcast know about Blackmagic Design. But for those that might not know everything, talk a little bit about who Blackmagic Design is and the products that you create.
Sure. So we make a myriad of products. We're known for high-quality, low-cost products. We make digital film cameras. We make video editing software. We make capture cards. We make converters. We do routers, live production switchers, disc recorders, waveform monitors. We have a Cintel film scanner, and all of these products are used in feature film, post-production, television, broadcast industries, and just generally anything that has to do with moving images and video.
So our listeners work in a variety of areas within the industry. So let's talk about a few different products from Blackmagic Design. For someone that works specifically in field productions, what is the most popular product that you guys sell?
So our cameras are very popular. Obviously, we started in 2012. And since then, we've grown to have a myriad of different cameras, both for digital film cameras. We have live production cameras. Some of them are hybrid cameras, and so we make a wide variety of cameras that enable people to go out and shoot high-quality filmmaking, whether it's feature films, documentaries, TV commercials, and all kinds of live production.
And what about post-production?
So on the post-production side, DaVinci Resolve is at the core. So DaVinci Resolve was a color correction device basically when Blackmagic bought it, but now it's evolved into a full-service tool that provides editing, audio editing with Fairlight, visual effects with Fusion, and, of course, the DaVinci color correction. So it's an all-in-one tool that can help people from media management all the way out to final output.
And finally, for those that work in broadcast, what's the most popular Blackmagic Design product there?
Well, the short answer probably is our converters, because we make so many converters. People have them, and they're sort of like they're just laying around every shop. But at the core of it, the ATEM television switchers have really revolutionized the ability to do low-cost, high-quality live switching. And with products that start at $995 for an 8-input switcher, we have sold a ton of switchers, but it really just has enabled people to build small, portable units that go out and do live productions.
Now, I'm on the Blackmagic Design mailing list, and I follow you guys on social media. So I see all the new product releases and software upgrades available for current products. But for someone that isn't keeping up as much as I am, since the start of 2018, we'll say, what's the most notable new product or new release from Blackmagic Design?
So I guess there'd be a couple. The Pocket Cinema Camera 4K was announced at NAB, and it's out now. Blackmagic Raw, which is our new codec, is something that we announced recently that is really going to be a huge enhancement to Ursa Mini Pro and eventually down to the Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. DaVinci Resolve 15. We even have a Blackmagic eGPU that is available on the Apple site to speed up people that use laptops, Thunderbolt 3 laptops, and of course the ATEM Television Studio Pro 4K, which is an all-in-one switcher that even features dynamic inputs, meaning that any input will be up-res to 4K or whatever your output format is.
Technology is a topic that we talk a lot about on the podcast, but in your line of work, it's an everyday issue. Advancements never stop, and if you take a day off from them, you're behind the competition. So talk a little bit about Blackmagic Design's commitment to those advancements and how the company manages to stay ahead with all the different changes in technology.
Well, I think we look forward and back, and what I mean by that is we try to fill needs that customers may not anticipate. But at the same time, we take a lot of feedback at shows and events and things, and of course on our forum where a lot of ideas are shared. So it's a combination of trying to make workflows better and to provide tools that maybe people don't even think about today, but at the same time trying to leverage the knowledge base of our current users in adding features and new products going forward.
Now, Bob, do you have different needs and challenges throughout the world? I mean, is there a specific need in, say, the United States versus other parts of the world or other parts of the country?
The only real difference in, say, the U.S. is different file formats. So meaning, in the U.S., 1080i is a popular HD format, 720p. We don't run into interlaced in a lot of other countries. But for the most part, making a good camera and making a good switcher is universal. And because of tools like the Teranex standards converters that we have, where we can change any input into any output with 1,079 different conversions, we pretty much meet all of the needs. So really the only localized issue in terms of the U.S. is sort of interlace, but we handle that as well.
Bob, as you know, the production and post-production process is a lot of different stages, but in the research that I've done, I know Blackmagic Design could be a total source company for somebody that is doing end-to-end. So talk a little bit about workflow from the very beginning of a production project all the way through delivery if someone were just using Blackmagic Design products.
Yeah, so we have a lot of customers that will use our cameras, say, on the front end to shoot promotional videos or behind the scenes that they'll incorporate into even a live production. So they can be playing back footage that was already shot on some of our cinema cameras, processed through DaVinci Resolve with editing, color grading, the audio, and visual effects, and then used in a live environment. And a lot of our cameras are hybrids in the sense that you can use an Ursa Mini Pro or an Ursa Broadcast in traditional ENG style shooting or documentary style shooting, but then later use it in a live production where you have all the features that you need in a live studio camera, including talkback and tally and the rest of that you would normally have in a studio camera. So those hybrid elements allow people to basically use our products so that they're doing the production, they're doing the full post in DaVinci Resolve end-to-end. Even our new Blackmagic Raw was used recently on a music video for Weezer where they shot it in Blackmagic Raw, they edited it in DaVinci Resolve, they color graded it in DaVinci Resolve and did it sort of all end-to-end. And by shooting with the Ursa Mini Pro with the Blackmagic Raw, they went totally through the whole Blackmagic pipeline. Now, we recognize that Blackmagic doesn't make every single product in this pipeline, but for the most part, we have a lot of the bases covered. And we're also open so that you don't have to use just Blackmagic. We're open to people using different pieces of their own equipment that they have from other manufacturers, but ultimately, we do create an environment where people can stay within Blackmagic, keep it low cost, but keep the quality at a really high level.
So I think the answer to this is going to be both, but when you guys are designing products, are you focused on how they integrate with other Blackmagic Design products, or do you have to have a specific focus for those that may come in to only use one piece of the puzzle from Blackmagic Design?
Well, you kind of have to do both, as you say, but like a great example is even the new codec that we created, while it works with the Blackmagic cameras, we allowed that SDK to be open source so that other nonlinear editors can use it in an editing. So this way we're trying not to force people to stay within the ecosystem. Now, sometimes it just becomes natural that you would stay into it. But if you have a specific piece of equipment that you like using or you're just used to it, we don't prevent people from going down that road. But obviously, all of our pieces of our puzzle start to fit together. So we're open, and we're trying not to close off other manufacturers because ultimately you don't want to restrict the creativity of the end users. The people that are using these products, the customers, you don't want to stifle their creativity. You want to enable it, and that's what we do with our low-cost, high-quality products.
So, Bob, in a previous life, I was a video editor and then moved into more the operations side on the post-production side of things. So I've always had a thing for DaVinci Resolve. So talk about the advances. You had mentioned it a little bit where it used to be just color correction and now it's more of a full tool. Talk a little bit about the advancements that just DaVinci Resolve has had just in the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I worked at DaVinci, and when I worked at DaVinci, they were $500,000 systems. Now today, the software is free, but the studio version is $299. Even that was $995 a couple years ago. So in the last couple years, we've added Fairlight Audio, we've added Fusion for visual effects, we've enhanced the editing tremendously, and part of that enhancement of the editing is even just to enable us better round tripping into other NLEs, not just trying to move everybody over to ours. But when you have the editing and you have the color grading and you have the audio and you have the visual effects, it's obviously an all-in-one suite that you can try for free by going to the website, but also the studio version at $299, which it's even included in the cameras like Ursa Mini Pro and the new Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. So that really helps people. But the core color grading tools are still there, still used in all the high-end feature films that they were used in 10 years ago. It's just at a price point that everybody can obtain now.
And I know so many people appreciate that. And when we tell them that Film Florida has Blackmagic Design as a member, they're just ecstatic to hear that, you know, they have closer access to the products, and they're very happy that you guys are so supportive of the lower end budgets where a lot of filmmakers and corporate production is these days.
What we tried to do is enable people. You know, when I was in college 100 years ago, your choices were either rent a film camera and do that process, which is really expensive, or use some kind of camcorder, and the quality wasn't there. Whereas today, people don't judge you by the tools that they use. They judge you by what the result is. So enabling people to shoot some really good footage and then to color grade it, and, you know, all of the things that the tools provide at such a low cost enables everybody. So it is important for us to get in and talk to users all across, because at the end of the day, our products start at $39, so everyone's a customer. So ultimately, it's great to be able to enable as many user groups as we can to get exposure to our products. And of course, nowadays with the internet and forums and things like that, it really is a great way for people to share ideas and to learn without having to stand in line at a post house somewhere hoping in 3 years you'll get taught something.
You mentioned user groups and forums. Do you guys get a lot of your feedback directly from there in terms of what you're going to consider for new product releases and new software upgrades?
Sure. Our forum is very active. We started it a few years ago because we felt that we could sustain it and we could monitor it properly to, you know, get what we want out of it, but also share ideas. And the other thing that we do is we pay attention when we go to trade shows. So we get a lot of people to come up to show us feedback. And when the cameras are there or any of the products are on the floor and you get a guy who has a good idea, we definitely document those things and feed them back. And because, you know, we're only part of the world, but we're a large part of it, we find it's interesting to find out from the product management team that, as a matter of fact, you know, we are hearing similar feedback and similar feature requests across the globe. So those things happen often. And it's good to talk, because sometimes even when they're describing something that they want, it doesn't mean that that's the way we're going to do it, but it's the problem that you're listening to, and you think, all right, how can we solve that? Maybe not the way that they're specifying, but in a different way. So getting exposure to conflicts and issues that people have in production, regardless of what tools they're using, that type of feedback really helps us develop further.
And if somebody wanted to learn more about the products offered by Blackmagic Design, what's the best way to do that?
The best place to go is blackmagicdesign.com.
That'll do it for this episode of the Film Florida podcast. Thanks to Bob Caniglia for joining us, and of course, thank you for listening. To learn more about Blackmagic Design, visit blackmagicdesign.com. That's blackmagicdesign.com. For more information about Film Florida, make sure you go to filmflorida.org or visit our social media pages on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And of course, please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast.